Hey guys, my name is Kevin Scoggin, and I want to welcome you to my channel. I am a real estate team leader right here in Central Oklahoma, and I am on a mission to help agents create time freedom and financial abundance in their real estate business. I'm super honored that you're here. I'm excited that you get to check out today's video. On today's video, I sat down with one of the newer agents on my team, an agent named Ben Freeman. He's only been licensed for about 3 months. He currently has 2 deals under contract, multiple deals in the pipeline, and he is absolutely crushing it. And what I found is that a lot of real estate content out there is typically from the perspective of the expert or the super experienced agent. And don't get me wrong, that content is good and helpful, but it's not often that we get to hear from a new agent. And so Ben is absolutely crushing to my team. And so I thought it would be fun to sit down with Ben, ask him a few specific questions, kind of get into the mind of a new agent who's winning in today's market, which is not an easy market to be winning in. And so I'm excited to introduce you to Ben. Now, before we get into the conversation with Ben, as always, if this content is providing a value to you, if it's helping grow your business, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel.
Well, Ben, thanks so much for hopping on here with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we start by you just telling the viewers a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So born and raised in Oklahoma City. My dad is a pastor, and so I grew up in the church. So that was always a huge part of my life, and started playing music at a pretty young age. My family is also musical. So kind of by default, when I was a teenager, I became the worship pastor at the church that I grew up in. And then that ended up becoming my career after college. I studied music in college, have a degree in music, and then I had a 20-year career in full-time vocational ministry before taking the leap into the real estate world. And so that's kind of a little bit about my background and doing real estate full-time now and loving it. It's been a fun adventure so far.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Okay, so and remind me how long you've been licensed for specifically?
Yeah, so I took my test at the end of May of this year, and then I think I was officially licensed sometime in June. It takes a few weeks to get all that paperwork submitted and whatnot. So yeah, since about mid-June or so, I've had the license officially.
Okay, cool. So around 3 months licensed, you currently have 2 deals under contract, closing your first deal in a week, a little over a week?
Monday, so a little less than a week. Yeah, 6 days.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, you're killing it. I'm curious. I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to get the perspective of a new agent. And so I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
My first is, what are 3 of the biggest lessons that you've learned so far as a real estate agent?
Yeah, so there've been a lot of lessons. As I was kind of thinking through your questions before this interview, the 3 biggest lessons that stood out was, number 1, that this is a sales job, right? And at first glance, that may seem like obvious, right? Like we're in the business of sales, but I always thought of it from the perspective of I'm negotiating a contract or negotiating the terms on the purchase or sale of a property, but there's so much of it that's selling my service, right? Introducing myself to new folks who may have a need for real estate in the area. And so it's as much about selling the relationship. Here's what I can offer you in a real estate transaction or in the process of buying or selling a home. It's as much about that as it is about the actual nuts and bolts of negotiating a deal on a particular property. So that was one big thing I've learned. A second thing that I've learned that's been huge so far in my short tenure thus far is to be very detailed in communication, right? So something as small as if a buyer is asking for a repair to be done by a licensed plumber, be sure to communicate that clearly to the other side of the transaction, that they need it to be a licensed plumber who does the repair and not just a general contractor. So detailed communication, that was number 2. And then the third thing that's been kind of the biggest lesson so far for me is that you've got to show up and prospect every single day, right? I can't make calls for 1 hour a week and expect to have a successful business. I've heard it said that if you treat real estate or anything really like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. But if you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. So yeah, those are the 3 things. It's sales, being detailed in communication, and then showing up every day and putting in that prospecting work.
So good, man. Well, I think that the fruit you're seeing in your business right now is a reflection of those lessons. So way to go. And I don't know that I've heard that saying before. If you treat it like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. I like that one. That's one to keep in the back pocket for sure.
Yeah. And I can't take credit for that. I think that's an Alex Hormozy quote, but
okay.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's one that I try to remind myself of every day.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's really good. What's one thing that has surprised you about the industry so far?
Yeah, one of the things that was definitely a little bit of a surprise was the amount of psychology involved in dealing with buyers and sellers. And, there can be a lot of emotion tied to a real estate transaction. Maybe somebody's selling a home that they grew up in and now their parents have passed. And so they're tasked with dealing with the estate. Or maybe there's a property that somebody wants, but they feel like the price is a little higher than what they should pay for the condition of the property. And emotions and ego can get tangled up in all of that. And so it's the surprise for me has been as much about sort of de-escalating and holding the pieces together in some cases as much as anything else. It's really kind of putting on that counselor hat almost, as it were, to help guide folks through the transaction. Yeah.
Yes, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Yeah, that's good. If there was someone watching this video, Ben, that either they're a new agent like you or they're in the process of getting their license or thinking about getting into the industry, what would be a piece of advice that you might give them?
Yeah. So the best advice I could give is no one's coming to rescue you, right? Like you got to show up every day and do the work. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, if you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. And so you've got to be disciplined, set up your calendar to do the work every day, to make the calls, to record the videos for social media, whatever the thing is that you need to be doing. Pick up the phone, make the calls, open the camera app, record the video, but just do the work and honor that calendar. And honestly, that's been one of the biggest things for me so far. And again, I'm only a few months in, but I've seen the most fruit from honoring those calendar blocks. This is my, block of prospecting every day, and I'm going to honor that time as if it were a meeting with a dignitary or something, right? Like it's just as important for me to show up and put in that work every single day in order to get those results.
So good, man. I love that. Yeah, obviously the honoring the calendar has been such a big piece of my business. And so I think that's huge for sure. What's one book that has made a big difference in your business?
So this is a book that I've actually read a few times and had read it well before I got into real estate. It's one of those books that I try to reread every single year because it's had that big of an impact in my life. The book is called Never Split the Difference by a guy named Chris Voss. He's a former FBI negotiator, and so he's obviously been in some high pressure negotiating situations. And I'm an Audible guy. I like to listen to books in the car. So that's one that I love to put on anytime I've got a bit of a long drive and just listen to it. He's really fun to listen to. He's kind of this Brooklyn guy with hard edges. And anyway, it's a really entertaining book, but also incredibly valuable. Going back to that psychology thing, a lot of that book is about listening to what's beneath the words that are being said and really understanding where that person is coming from that you're communicating with in order to find the best solution possible for everyone.
It's good, man. I've had that book recommended to me multiple times and I've never read it. So maybe this is the sign that I need to go ahead and dive into.
Next on the list.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Ben, I want to thank you for taking some time to talk to us. I love getting kind of behind the scenes and into the mind of a new agent, and not just a new agent, but a new agent that really is succeeding. I mean, you're doing a great job, man. I think 2 deals under contract, you have multiple things in the pipeline. You're showing properties, you're meeting with clients. Like, that's huge. And the market we're in right now is not easy. Interest rates are high, inventory is low. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, and you're winning. And so hats off to you, man. And thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
You bet. Happy to do it. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, you guys, well, I hope that you enjoyed that conversation. If you are a Central Oklahoma real estate agent and you are looking for a phone verified hot leads, weekly coaching and accountability, and a complete transaction coordination staff, I want to encourage you to check out the description below. There's a link where you can book a call to have a conversation with my team to see if you might be a good fit for my local production team. Again, it's here in Central Oklahoma. Now, if you're an agent not in Central Oklahoma and you're interested in learning what does it look like to partner with me, if you're interested in free world-class social media training on every major platform, weekly mastermind calls, and ultimately getting paid more for doing what you're already doing, again, do me a favor. There's a link for you below this video as well.